catalyst for change with the chance to thrive. Crystal is the one to stir up gifts and save lives. You get exposure, promotion, and marketing too. And advertise for business owners just like you. On Storytime, your interview is global. Virtual or in person, just come on the show. Yo, your story matters. Crystals will open the door. 40 years of experience, ready to give you more on Storytime. Get ready for Storytime.
I want you to introduce to you Dr. Larkins. Once again, as I said before, we are here to save SAU. You see the picture right here where it says Dr. Larkins and Mr. Ben Johnson will be coming. And John Larkins is the former board member and former president of the NAA-SAU. And we also have Ben Johnson, who's a member of the Save SAU Coalition and executive director of the FalconSixthMan Foundation. And he's a 1983 grad. So you'll see him. And as I mentioned before, it's all about saving SAU. That's what this is. We are here to save SAU. And that's why I showed you this picture of this campus and let you know this is what it's all about. And this man that I'm showing you right now, once again, he's a strong Episcopalian. He's a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, classmate, friend, and fraternity brother on board. He's an alumnus. He's a former board member and also former president of the NAA-SAU. And I want to welcome you once again. How you doing this evening, Dr. Larkin?
I'm doing great. And it's good to be here, Crystal, to try to bring some understanding and perspective to what the Save SAU Coalition is all about. This is not new for some of us. I've been working at this vineyard for over 50 years. Going back to days when I left St. Aug and was living in Washington. I was a member of the DC chapter of the Alumni Association. Before it became NAA, it was run by the school, and I was the president in the DC area for years. So I've raised money, recruited students, and been an advocate for St. Augustine's University for well over 50 years. And that's my first love. My wife always teases me. She said, you have degrees from 2 other institutions. You got 2 from Howard. You went to Catholic U, but you're always uplifting St. Augustine's.
Wow.
And I just feel it today as we watch the HU homecoming. I said, you know, if it wasn't for St. Augustine's, I wouldn't have been at Howard and I wouldn't have been at those other schools. So that's why I put St. Aug first.
And to join you tonight, we also have another good young man here, Mr. Ben Johnson, joining us. Coming in strong. Ben is also a member of Save SAU, the coalition, executive director of the FalconSixthMan Foundation. How you doing, Mr. Ben Johnson?
Okay, I'm doing fine there, Crystal. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. So I explained to others earlier that the coalition started about January 2024 with a group of concerned alumni, students, parents, former administrators, and former faculty and SAU supporters when y'all came together to explore ways to save SAU in the absence of the governors at the institution. And that Save SAU Coalition, Inc. is a nonprofit with a mission of bringing individuals together and groups committed to working together to save SAU. And that's the beautiful thing about it. And so I definitely want to, before we get started, I want to acknowledge both of you and tell you thank you so much for coming here, because we're all here for the love of that good old blue, you know. And so before we get started, I just want you to tell us just a little bit. I have your accolades here, and I definitely, you know, can definitely speak about your professional experience. And I want you to know that while you're talking, I'm going to let the people see it because I took the liberty of writing it down. So they're actually going to be reading about you when you're speaking. But I want you to tell me a little bit about your St. Aug experience, because both of you are graduates. Tell us a little bit about when you graduated from St. Augustine. Back then, it was St. Aug College, and what that was like, and why St. Aug is so important to you. You know, the year you graduated, you know, what you majored in, and what was it about St. Augustine's University that really impacted you the most? And I'll start with you, Dr. Falcon.
Okay.
Appreciate that. I went to I was the first member of my family to go to college back in the day. College wasn't even something that was discussed around the kitchen table. Basically, it was about getting a job or going into the service. So I had the opportunity from my church. Actually, the priest in my church discussed with me about going to college. And he said, you know, I know you're streetwise, but let's see if you can handle the academic side. So they, Episcopal Church made a way for me to get to St. Augustine's University back in the summer of '62, after first doing some penance working in Patterson at a church school for special students, let's say. Let's put it like that. But anyway, it was a good experience. I got to St. Aug back in the fall of '62, became a chemistry major. I got a infinite amount of support from faculty and staff there. They just adopted me when I came in. There was a lot I needed to learn about studying and doing things, but with the support that I got from the folks who were there, I was able to be on the dean's list for 4 years. I had the potential, it just hadn't come out. So when I got to St. Aug, the faculty and staff were the ones who were that catalyst to get that turn that potential into action. So that's why St. Aug has always been dear to me, and I've made friends at St. Augustine's University for years, and some of them even now. Matter of fact, we're going to talk a little bit later about Coach Pup Williams. Pup was in the class right before me, so Pup and I were on campus together for 3 years, so we got to know each other well. And like I said, many of the students there, my classmates and others, we've been friends for well over 50 plus years, close to 60 years. So,
Wow.
why that close, yeah, original OG. So that's why that indebtedness to St. Aug.
I see you over there, Benjamin, trying to get yourself together. Get yourself. We want to see you get yourself inside that box right there. We got you in there. Slide all over to the left, everybody to the left. And we can't hear you. You got your volume on. Unmute yourself. You're on mute now. So you were unmuted before because we heard you. So if we need to come back to you, I can come back to you because you
need volume up a little bit.
I see you got 2 cameras on there. You have 2 cameras, so we can come back to talk to you. Go out and come back, and let's see what happens. Let me try you over here. Let's give him some time. So now, Dr. Larkins.
Yeah, can I make an announcement while we're trying to get Ben involved?
Yes, you sure can.
You know, we've been actively trying to plan what can we do not only to save St. Augustine's University right now from all the problems that it's having financially and with accreditation, but also moving forward in the future. What happens, you know, God forbid we lose our accreditation and the school isn't able to pay its bills. You have to have a plan going forward. So the Save SAU Coalition is not just looking at where we are now, but trying to get a path going forward. But we first must make changes, significant changes at the university with the Board of Trustees. And one of the things that we're doing is honoring Coach Pup Williams on November 22nd at the Crabtree Marriott right there in Raleigh. You know, as everybody knows, Coach George Williams was the icon for St. Augustine's University for well over 50 years. He's won something like 39 NCAA track and field championships while at the university, more than any active coach in any field. I mean, just think about that, how significant that was. So, and he's never really received his due honors from the university or from the alums, in my opinion. So what we're planning on doing on November the 22nd at the Marriott Crabtree between 6 and 9 is to honor Coach Williams in such a way that his work will be long time. It was a shame the way he was separated from the university. And because when people used to talk about St. Aug, the first thing that came to mind was track and field, Coach Williams. Let's face it, I mean, that's what we were known for. Even though we did have, you know, great academic scholars and did things outstanding faculty and people in the sports arena, whether it was basketball, football, or whatever. But the name that always rose to the top was Coach George Pup Williams. So he helped put us on the map, and we need to recognize him in a big way. So I'm asking tonight that any alums listening to this will come out and support your coach. If you can't be here, you can go online to the Save SAU website and read the information, sponsor a ticket, or be a sponsor for this event. I really think that we need to treat Coach Williams like Coach K over Duke University was treated, or the other coaches in North Carolina. So I'm asking, pleading that folks will come out and support the coalition in recognizing the coach, and also helping us to move forward with the revitalization and resuscitation of our great university.
I agree. Coach Williams definitely deserves it all. Are you with us, Ben? I can't hear you. I still can't hear you for something. Now, I don't know what you touched, because when you first got on, you are here twice. Why don't you delete the other one, because you're up here twice. Let me do this. You have two up here. Let me try something. So we need to probably kick the other one out, and then maybe that'll help you. Let me see. Let me put the other one out and see if that helps you. Now say something. You can't hear me now. Okay. So you might go, I'm going to move you out and you come back in to try to come back in again. You know, I know sometimes people have difficulties with this thing, but now I want to talk about the Save SAU Coalition. And I know that they have a lot of concerns, and you served on the board, sir. How long ago was it that you served? For those who don't know, how long ago was it that you served on the board of trustees, sir?
I believe it was between 2019 and 2021. I was on there actually for a little less than 2 years. And I had an option of trying to stay on the board or staying with as president of the National Alumni Association. I had served one term, and then I decided that I'd have a little more outreach by doing a second term of president of the National Alumni Association, because I believe firmly that, you know, when administrators leave, when board members leave, the alums are still there. Mm-hmm. So we need to have a strong alumni base. Alumni, particularly for a school like St. Augustine's University, are the voice and heartline of that school. The alums are the ones who keeps it going. Unfortunately, we have a board that doesn't realize the importance of outreach and transparency with alums. We need to have a group in there who demand that, you know, they keep alums and others informed as to what's going on. There's been a long history of problems at St. Augustine's University. I won't go into all the gory details, but going back to, I think it was 2016, when we first got into trouble with SACs, and thank God Dr. Everett Ward was able to navigate and get us off of probation that following year. But then unfortunately, you know, he left, and then they brought in Dr. Gaddis Falcon on an interim basis. He did an outstanding job in terms of increasing enrollment and trying to bring in more money, more funds. Unfortunately, for some reason, he was not brought on permanently, nor was he given another contract. And I think subsequently, that's when a lot of our problems began with SACs. We got warnings, and then we were back on probation again. And then there were other problems that came up, financial problems in addition to the accreditation problems. And, you know, there's always a lot of finger pointing as to who did this and who did that. But basically, you know, if your board is strong, if they're providing good fiduciary oversight, if they're providing good leadership and hiring good people to come in and run the institution, you don't have these problems. But we've been in a constant state of flux or chaos over the last 6 years with this constant turnover in leadership. You know, we've lost, 6 presidents or so over that period of time. We've Our finances have gone down. Our enrollment went down. It was just, a lot of problems that were generated that could have been avoided or things could have been improved. Um, even on this financial situation now, the board said, well, we didn't know. The past president, didn't tell us what was going on. Well, some of these problems have been going on for years, 3 or 4 years, the last ones with the payroll tax. And so you mean to tell me with 3 different presidents and 3 or 4 different controllers, you didn't know? And you have a finance committee that reviews what's going on and you weren't asking the right questions? All of that says you need to have folks on that board who know better how to run the school, have a better business acumen for running the school and making decisions. The people you hire should be able to come in and help us raise money and turn things around. And that just hasn't happened.
So let me ask you this, Dr. Larkins, point blank. I know you alluded to a few things, but in a nutshell, how did St. Augustine University get into the current position, both financially and accreditation wise?
Okay. Quite basically is the fact that the board didn't keep their eye on the ball. Back starting in 2018, 2019, we were told that we were running in the black, and it turns out that in future audits that we were actually running a deficit. So you're running a deficit for 2 or 3 years, you get further and further in debt. Crystal, if you don't account for the monies that you owe, it's just like paying your bills. If you don't pay your bills and you keep charging and doing stuff, you get more bills. And basically what happened was, in I think it was 2019, and don't tie me down on these dates because I don't have my records in front of me, but we were about 5.5 million in debt. Then the next year we were $8.5 million in debt. So we weren't paying our bills. And then we had, Department of Education and SACS requires, and for our viewers who may not be familiar with SACS, it's the accrediting agent for the university. They require that you provide a audit every year, and it should be a good audit. Well, for a couple of years there, we didn't provide audits. And so that got us into problem, not only with our accrediting agency, SACS, it also got us in trouble with the Department of Education. Subsequently, in August of 2023, Department of Education wouldn't allow us to draw down the Pell monies that we were owed. So the university got deeper and deeper in debt. There was no plan by the board to go forward. And, when you ask questions, the only thing they said, well, nobody told us. We didn't know. Well, I say you should have known. You have a finance committee that reviews your budget, reviews everything that's going on. If they weren't doing their job, then you should have had somebody else in there. And at one time we did, but those people were pushed out, purged. So that's what we ended up with.
So Ben, I see you backstage. Wave to me if you feel like you have your sound together, then I'll bring you back up and we'll test it out. In the meantime, I want to welcome all the Falcons that are out there on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, wherever you are. Please go ahead and comment. If you comment, I can see your comment and we can put it up on the screen. We say hello. Let us know where you're tuning in from. If you're a Falcon, just say, hi, I'm Falcon. I graduated in 1982. I'm in New York City. I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina, Greensboro, wherever you are. Comment if you're on YouTube, Facebook, wherever you are, and then we will definitely put your comment up on the screen and let us know. I see you, Kim Hayes Johnson, Dr. Paula Lewis, TD Edwards, IMD. I see all of you, so thank you so much for being there. So by all means, let us know. Mr. Ben, are you with us?
I am with you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
All right.
I had to start over from scratch there, and but I know you moved along, and John has been carrying this. But at the same time, I'll go back to the first question you asked about being a Falcon. My response is I've never not been a Falcon. My dad taught at St. Aug for 35 years. I grew up on the campus. The Hill Street and Oakwood Avenue was my playground after school. And then ended up attending the university, running through the science building and everything there. Both of my parents are, my mom is a St. Aug grad, and my dad was there, like I said, 35 years in charge of the science department. And so St. Aug is, if you cut me, I bleed blue. So it is it's something that's in my heart, and I wouldn't be doing anything in my life if it hadn't been for St. Aug.
Wow, that's really good. Now, I like what you said. You said something very important. You said I had to start all over again. Gentlemen, I would venture to say that we might be getting kind of close, that with the way things are going with St. Aug, once we clean house and do everything, we might have to start all over again. Would you agree with that, Dr. Larkins? We're going to have to start fresh some kind of way, huh?
Yeah, definitely. We're going to have to figure a way to revitalize the school and resuscitate things. You know, I hate to say it. I've seen schools like Bishop College in Texas and other schools close, and were never able to open their doors again. I've seen Morris Brown. It took them 20 years to reopen their campus, and some of the other schools like Bennett who've gone through this. And actually, some of them were in better shape than we are. I mean, the huge amount of debt that we have, it's really going to be a tremendous, but through the grace of God, for us to overcome that and come back. So, yeah, you might be right, Chris. We might be really having to start over. But I think there are ways that we can keep the doors open if we get the right people in there to do the right things.
So and
Crystal, and I'll add to that, in that we know that, as you mentioned about starting over, and we know that we are going to inherit a bad situation.
Yes, sir.
But we can't take it over and start it over again until that board is gone.
Okay, slide over a little bit for me, Ben. Start to your left.
To my left.
There you go. That's good. Right there, right there. Okay, so let me ask you this. Has the instability in the leadership over the last 6 to 7 years been a main contributor to the problems?
It has been a major contributor. And I say that in that we have had interim presidents, we have had acting presidents, we haven't had any stability. And so with that, and that compounds the issue that we currently are dealing with. Because when you don't have strong leadership, constant leadership, and then the ability to make decisions based on what you have in place, it puts us in a position that we're in now.
So what does the current Board of Trustees, particularly those who have been there for the past several years, want to stay and control the university? Why? Why do they want to stay and control the university? That's the big question. Everybody wants, why? Why won't they leave? Why do they want to stay and control the university when it is obvious to everyone that they have not been successful in bringing in large donors or in any aspect of raising money, nor have they been good at bringing in and making selections for presidents or handling their fiduciary responsibilities? Why, gentlemen, why?
Well, I would like to say this. I will start this. I will tee it up for John and then let him hit it out of the park. When we have a situation that you've just described, why won't they leave? What you're looking at is the only thing, the Sachs report spells out everything. When has St. Aug ever had $10 million unaccounted for? That is in the report. That is not it. That's not an opinion. That is something that they found. So when you have people that are doing those types of things, possibly driving the institution in the ground where it can't be resuscitated, then you've got concerns of now we have to, that is part of the reason for us to have a legal lawsuit, is because when we asked those questions, we didn't receive an answer. And then the answers that we received were not satisfactory answers. They were, we're not going anywhere. We're doing our own thing, and that there's part of this where they're in violation of North Carolina statutes. So when you have that type of leadership and those things in place, they have got to go. But it is a matter of, why do they stay? And we as Save SAU don't have an answer, but we see what you see. And I will let John take it from there.
Dr. Lain.
Yeah, I'm going, and I think Ben, you framed it well. Obviously, people have some kind of vested interest, but there was a good article that came out in June 2024, June 22nd, HBCU Digest, and it's titled, "Board of Trustees are once again at the center of dangerous times on HBCUs." And it spends a lot of time talking about the problems at St. Augustine's University, the problems of the board, in particular, the chairman, previous chairman. And so I don't need to call people out. I think if people read that, go back and read our lawsuit, you'll see the inferences in there. I mean, there's lots of things that, people have known about for years that have gone on the campus and have questioned and never got a good answer. The problem is we have a board that doesn't regulate. When you have a private institution, somebody has got to regulate the board. Somebody, just like the board regulates the president and the president regulates everybody else in the school. And when they don't do that, they don't regulate themselves for conflict of interest or other issues that have occurred, or, certain hiring practices or contracting issues. I mean, all of these things have occurred, and people ask questions and they don't get good answers. And, these things are actually spelled out in our, 54-page lawsuit?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I really think alums should take the time. And one of the things that bothers me, I'm just going to get off my chest. We got over 9,000 alumni out there. Wow. We can save the school. We can bring about change, but we have to step up and stand up and be heard. There's so much going on that if we had a couple of thousand alums show up on that campus and show up for this court hearing, we can make a difference. The board is trying to get our lawsuit kicked out just on technicalities because they know the evidence is there. If we get the right judge, I mean, it's just clear to anybody who reads it. How could all of these things have occurred at this school, which just 4 or 5 years ago, we were up 1,112 students, and now we're down to, quote, 180 students, 90 on campus and 90 virtual or whatever. I mean, right. How could we have fallen so fast, so quick without, some corrective action? If this had been a public institution like state or some other place, those folks would have been gone. They would have been gone 4 or 5 years ago. Once, we got the first probation.
Yes.
And all of these things, but there is no accountability, and they don't feel that though they need to leave. And I think some have vested interests.
Wow. So we need to show up. Now, listen, do we need to show up? Because I still have my sign from the walks. I still have it.
We need to show up and show out.
Show up with our signs on November 14th and show up on Fayetteville Street and turn it blue and white, like how they do when NC State wins a game and they go up and they show up and show out. Y'all, that's what we need to do on November 14th. Is that what you need? You need people to be present in the courtroom. They need they need to be saying, what it's too many. Wait, y'all gotta wait outside. It's just too many. It's too many. And then maybe whoever it is that had to make a decision, they will say, wait a minute, this needs to go to trial.
And Crystal, there's strength in numbers.
Yes.
And when they see that we are a united group, and when we had the walk, the one thing that was that the Board of Trustees realized is that once we organized and got together, that now they were going to have to answer. And as we did that, we were moving through things, and things had already started in that process. But
Yes.
we want you to be there, support us, bring those numbers, volume, there's strength in numbers, and they need to see that we mean business.
Yes, they do. And somebody put show up and show out. I see your teammate out there, Gary Taylor, because now, Ben, you played basketball for the Falcons. You was captain on the basketball team back in the day too, wasn't you? So
yes, I was.
A little birdie told me that. So listen, I heard you say lawsuit. For those who don't know, on May 31st, 2024, the Save SAU Coalition filed a lawsuit to remove the current SAU Board of Trustees due to their breach of fiduciary duty. A copy of the full complaint can be found on the website, and I'll let Dr. Larkins tell you that website again. But on the 31st, they filed this lawsuit to remove the board. They're not asking for any money from the school. Some people say, y'all trying to take money from school. They just want them to leave. So you need to really understand what that complaint is about. Now, you can be a part of this coalition. How can people join the coalition if they want to join forces with you? How can they do that, Dr. Larkin?
Okay, so they can merely go to our website. You can go to actually www.savesau.com, or you can go, coalition.com, or you can Google it, it'll show up, or I think it's mainly the best way
is Save SAU Coalition.org.
Okay.
And that they can go to that. They can read all of the newsletters, all of the lawsuits, all of the resolutions that we put together, and various responses, all of factual information. And I say that this is factual information. It is not an opinion. We lay out all the facts. The SACS report is there, that you can go and read it, and then at that point, you can develop your own, where you want to go with this. But we lay everything out there, why we have the lawsuit, and in reading the lawsuit, as John alluded to, is that all of that information is there, why we filing a lawsuit, and we're not asking for money. We just want the board to be gone so we can go ahead and reconstitute, we can restart, we can engage and make it better, because we know we have our work cut out for us.
Yeah. And let me just add to that. I don't know why anyone would think that we were looking for money when this group has been donating money for years, members of us individually and collectively. We've donated money to help support the faculty. We've donated money to help feed the students. We got members of the coalition who are over there cutting grass. We got members of the coalition who are over there bringing in relatives to make plumbing repairs on the campus.
Yeah.
If anything, the Save SAU Coalition's members have been doing a substantial amount of work, much more than I've seen from the board. When it comes to doing, we're still rolling up our sleeves, trying to raise money, preparing to go forward. Hopefully, we'll have some students and programs in the future that will need funding. So we're working on that also.
So let me say this. Now, some of you asked some questions, so I'm going to put this up. If you want to join us live, you can click this link. I put the link there. You can click that link and join us and come up on camera. If you have a live question, you can post it in the comment, because we see you, Gary Taylor. We see you, T.D. Edwards, Myra from out there in the D.C. area, DMV area. We see you all. So anyone who wants to come join us, feel free if you have something to add to the conversation. Now, November 14th is a big one. We definitely want to show up. We want to show up in blue and white. We want to be there. It's at 9:30. So I guess you need to get there early, because you have to be able to park. I had a classmate to call us that actually wants to organize a bus trip. They're organizing buses from New York, from Jersey, and from the DC area. Also had another two people. One drives a bus in the DMV, and another one owns a bus company or works for a bus company locally, and they're willing to do this area, any of the local areas here that need transportation, or South Carolina going that way. So just let us know, because if transportation is your issue, it's no longer an issue. So let us know so you can be here and carpool, do whatever we have to do. Let's get here. Let's make it happen. It is so important that we show them that we mean business.
Exactly.
Now, gentlemen, what will happen to St. Augustine's University if the school loses its accreditation and there's no money to pay its loans and bills? And before I go into the loans and bills, because I know some of you saw that meeting last week, we're going to talk about that meeting last week downtown Raleigh, but let's answer this question first. What will happen to St. Augustine's University if the school loses its accreditation and there's no money to pay its loans and bills? Because I don't want to see us lose hope. I don't want to see us give up. I don't want to see us lose the land. So what happens?
Worst case scenario, Crystal, if we lose accreditation and we can't pay our bills, the university becomes insolvent. That's different from bankruptcy. And when you become insolvent, it means you basically can't meet your expenses. You haven't filed an official petition with the courts to declare bankruptcy, but you have lien holders and others that you have to pay. We owe the IRS, I guess it's close to $10 million now. We got two toxic predatory loans out there. One was at 4, one was at 7. They're probably, 5 and 8 right now with interest. So, and then we've got all these back salaries and other bills that the school has accumulated. So we probably have close to $40, $50 million worth of debt conservatively. What happens is you have to pay them. So what that means is then you have to start selling off your properties. And who gets to decide how you sell off your properties? This board. So that doesn't make any of us feel comfortable. And for them to be selling off property means that they'll be selling it at a very low price, because, people will know it's a fire sale. If they can get it for half the price that it's worth, they're going to go ahead and do it. And that's why we're in these toxic loans. And I call them toxic because they're poisonous. And they just, drain off any resources, high interest rates. And they're overly collateralized. I mean, you got the one for $7 million, which essentially collateralizes the whole school, which in other words, that means that if they default, they could essentially force the university to sell off the property. Not before you have to pay the $8-9 million to the IRS, but that's little. So basically, that goes back to the fact we need to get rid of this board so that we can get in there people who are willing to help us. There are folks out there who I believe both state, federal, local governments don't want to see a black school fail, but they don't trust this board. Otherwise, this board would have pulled together some, grants and loans better before. So they haven't done it.
So in the meantime, what do we do? I see a lot of people are doing some fundraising efforts. There's a lot of initiative. We have a group called Falcons United that is doing an amazing job. They do so well when it comes to supporting the campus, supporting the causes that are needed, and just also for the lawsuit. So shout out to that whole body of people from the MAR, Devron, all of them. I know they caught a lot of flack, but I have to shout them out because they really were shining a light on all of this for a long time. And a lot of people realized what they were doing. And we thank God for them, because if we would have listened sooner, maybe we wouldn't even be here. But we're here now. So together we are going to do it.
And Crystal, I would like to add a little bit to that, in that what John was talking about, in that we've got a $250,000 water bill. We have asked for the bills, and they have showed us what the bills are. So at least some of them, the water bill, the electric bill, and the gas bill. So we are close to owing about almost $2 million in utilities alone. And as people have made donations to the university, we still pointed these bills because those weren't paid. So the second question is, what is happening with the funds?
Yeah, you see that post I just put? The DMV just donated $22,000 to the university last week. So how are they tracking this, you know, and where's it going?
Where's it going? And we have asked those questions. We haven't gotten solid answers, and we need to be able to have an answer for that. And especially if you just look at the bill and then the bill goes into arrears, it's like you just got $22,000. There were times that we've had alumni associations donate $70,000 and do that, but yet these bills still sit here and they increase. So those are some things that, you know, we've been looking at, and we want to be able to make sure those things get paid. But as John alluded to, is that if we don't get the accreditation, these things still have to be paid. Those things have to be paid, and that's those things up front. We haven't even talked about, you know, the IRS, the $11.5 million, the maintenance company that was, you know, cutting the grass and doing the plumbing, that, you know, they're suing the school for, you know, $1.5 million, and those things add up. And so it would be, you know, almost, I won't say a fire, it'll be a fire sale, but everybody will line up waiting to get, you know, how they get compensated.
Yeah. So you see questions on there. I'm putting the questions up there. Y'all can see it. So I'm going to post them slowly so you can see it. So Gary Taylor asked, why would the current president of the university sign off on a loan that jeopardizes the forfeiture of the university?
That's my teammate asking that question. And
let me
Gary, and I'll say, Gary, great question. And we want to know also, in that there are statutes in regards to with the board of trustees and the president. The short answer is we don't know why he would sign off on that, but it also lends itself to some issues concerning the board of trustees, because that is their obligation to sign those types of deals with the chairman in regards to the not only the lawsuit, but then in taking out a loan and who's responsible for the monies, because he's an interim president. And there's certain things that an interim person can do, and then those that are what, if you are the permanent person in charge of doing that those responsibilities fall on you there. So great question. And John, if you
well, the only thing I wanted to say in a positive mode was that, you know, we had a lot of faculty members over there who hadn't been paid for what, 6, 7, 8, 9 months. They had been owed 13, 14 pay periods, and these people were being evicted out of their apartments. They had running into problems with their mortgages and everything else. So
foreclosures and repossessions, all kinds.
There was a necessity to get some monies to pay those folks. Now, whether that was a good deal or not, from a business perspective, no. But I guess from a humanitarian perspective, they had to pay these people. And, you know, they had to give them something, because they were caught between a rock and a hard spot, because they were still employees for the university. So they couldn't file for unemployment, even though they weren't getting paid. So that's crazy. So the bad part about that is they didn't get enough money out of this loan, first of all, to pay them all the money they owed them. They didn't get enough money to pay for the audits that they need in order to get relief from the Department of Education and also help out with SACs. They just didn't get enough money to do a lot of things. I mean, the loan or line of credit was supposed to be up to $30 million, I think. Is that right, Ben?
$30 million line
so
of credit.
Why did they just get $7 million, knowing that that's not enough money, and knowing that you have to make a payment coming, you know, a couple of months now? And also, they also had the loan with Ozark Bank for $4 million that is in the arrears. Plus, they've already lost 2 defaults. One to the maintenance company, Midget, which means that that company now can go after property. And also another one, the turf company.
For the football
So
field. Yeah.
yeah, for the football field. So that means that these companies now can go to court and ask that properties be sold so they can get their money. Now, again, they got to go through the IRS, but you know, it's sad all the way around.
So let me ask you this, because some people are not local and they may not have seen it. You gentlemen, did you see what happened last week downtown?
At the city of Raleigh.
Yes, with
council.
the city of Raleigh.
Yes.
What was your take on that? And did you see the young lady's face when she said pretty much, I want the land? I mean, she was like, I was like, wow. She was like, because the sister was trying to save us and talk about partnership, but she was like, no, we want the land. Like, they want the land. Right. They made it real clear. They want our land.
Okay, and you're talking about Mayor Marianne Baldwin.
Yes.
And she is in bed with the developers, and she does not hide the fact that she wants the land. She wants St. Aug's land, and she wants Shaw land.
Sure, that's right.
And so that was not surprising to me, because I have been involved with that now, being back in Raleigh. And it is everything that, and I work towards the process of, we keep the land and we do that, but we are also in such a, and I say we because St. Aug is me, in that we're in such a bad situation that we even have to participate in discussions like that.
Yes.
And we need to rebound from that. We need to get back in good standing, but that board, it goes back, that board has got to go. And when the city of Raleigh hides no bones about that they want the land, they want to be able to, there's been discussion about housing people that are dealing with Hurricane Helene and moving them and housing them at St. Aug. And it's almost, it's really, it is concerning in the fact that we need to have a say as opposed to being told what we're going to do.
Yes.
And we have given that up because of these lack of good decisions that were made by the current board and previous boards.
Yes, sir. And I'll let Dr. Larkins add to that. But Dr. Larkins, what I heard, because the young lady that was sitting on the left, the far lady, she kept trying to, save us. She kept saying, well, we want to partner with St. Aug. She said, we want to partner with St. Aug. And the mayor was like, partnership? No, we want the land. It's like, forget y'all. I was like, wow. It was so blatant. I was like, oh my goodness, we are in trouble. And that
yeah, I agree with you, Crystal, and Ben both. I watched a good part of that. I couldn't stomach the whole thing, to be honest with you, because it just smacked of things that have gone on in the past. And now, you got the city, which is looking at us like a wounded animal, almost, that they're ready to take advantage of, because they know that we're in debt. They know that we don't have any revenue streams coming in to pay our bills. So, it's going to be a matter of time. And this is why, another reason why we need a new board, because we have no relationships with these people. Before, we had administrators, people in there, board members who had relationships with the city, Wake County, and others who could help us. Right now, we don't have any. And I was really kind of, and I don't like to point fingers at people, but I when I looked at that meeting and the conversation, it just seemed to me like people weren't prepared, that either they didn't know or they didn't care, like from the movie. But one way or the other, it wasn't good. And Crystal, you're absolutely right, because I think it's just unfortunately, I think it's just a matter of time if we can't turn some things around.
So let me ask you something. So, on that property, we have the good old, St. Agnes. the good old St. Agnes. And a lot of people was born here, a lot of roots here at St. Agnes. And so man, did we lose that too? I mean, good gosh. All of that goes now. Someone had a question up there. I don't know if you saw the question. I'm gonna put it back up there.
I'm not sure
about the Gothic Venture. They said Gothic Ventures deep ties to who and who brought that deal.
Yeah. Before you get into that, let me just say we have historic sites on that campus, like St. Agnes, the library, Benson Library, and the chapel and other places. And I'm not sure that those can be part of any lawsuit, but certainly all that land and everything else around it can. But go ahead. I don't know.
Ventures, deep ties to who and who bought that deal? Are you familiar with that at all? That question that was asked?
Okay, John, you go ahead.
Now listen, let me say this. Let me say this to protect y'all. I realize y'all have a lawsuit coming up, so I don't want you to say anything to incriminate yourself, but I'm just reading the question. So if there's anything that you can't speak to, you can definitely say, listen, because we are in the situation with the lawsuit, we can't speak to that, but just follow us on the website. So, protect yourself that way. But I'm just reading the questions.
If you look at our e-newsletter that came out a couple of weeks ago, we have a section in there called Tying the Dots, tying the dots together. And you'll see a lot of the same names for some of these people, the same connections with these loans. And, I don't want to get into specifics because like you said, we do have this lawsuit, but there are a lot of the same people engaged in a lot of the stuff. They're bringing the same groups in to make the loan. Some of the same lawyers who are trying to get the land from Shaw and St. Aug are involved in this. We had one of our members do a search on the state's website for registered financial institutions, and they couldn't find Gothic on there, or this other group I think it's Gothic Ventures / Falcon or something. There's also some tie to
and Falcon Ventures.
And Falcon Ventures. And you try to find out who they are, and you really don't know. But we know when we go back and do research that a lot of these same folks are tied in together.
And also, Crystal, I'll just add to that in that as we have looked at, the Gothic Ventures, those pieces, and then there's some things that are even closer to home in that if you watched the meeting with the city of Raleigh, that the Shaw University president sits on the city's development piece.
There's something wrong with that. That's conflict of interest.
And you said it, I did. Now, all I can tell you is these are the facts. And that's, I'll just say that's closer to home. And so, when you see things like that, how does that happen? Again, we're involved in a lawsuit, and we just connect the dots with our newsletter and then allow you to make a decision and reach a conclusion.
So on that note, I just want to say, guys, if you have not joined the coalition, consider joining the coalition as an individual, as a company. Consider joining the efforts that they have to do the things like for Coach Williams on the 22nd and for the other initiatives. If you have other initiatives that you want to tell them about, please do. I know you may have other upcoming events. I know Falcons United is doing the Legacy Cookout on November 9th. The Legacy Cookout on November 9th, which is to kind of keep those students that are there like motivated and to kind of bring the Falcons that are still in it to win it to kind of come together and not lose hope, because let's face it, a lot of people was feeling kind of blue these last couple of weeks watching these homecomings going on everywhere, so it's another way that we can do that. And also it helps Falcons Unite to do what they do to help the faculty and the other issues on campus that they manage to always come to the rescue for. So again, remember that if y'all are going to come out. So that's November 9th, November 14th at 9:30 a.m. at the courthouse, and November 22nd. How much are the tickets on the 22nd, and what are the sponsorship levels that you guys have on the 22nd?
I'm glad you asked that question, Crystal. The tickets for the banquet are $100. It's a plated dinner, and it should be a very nice dress affair. We do have sponsorship levels, which we call friend sponsor, which starts at $250, and then we go through a bronze at $500, and we go all the way up to a platinum medal sponsor at $10,000. And there are things that you get for each one of these sponsorship levels, including tickets, 2 tickets at the friend level, and up to 10 tickets as a medallion, platinum medallion member. You also get advertising in our program, which will be published, and your name and logo placed on all the events that we're going to have. So there are going to be a number of things that'll come with each different level of sponsorship, but the tickets start as low as $100, and it will be a good meal. The Marriott does pretty good with their food. So, if you can help out, and we will need help with this programs and stuff. So
what kind of help you're going to need? What do you need? Tell the people what you need, because can you accept help monetarily, or you need physical labor, body?
Well, obviously we're going to need money, but we're also probably going to need some bodies at some point to, meet and greet, help us with outreach to various groups. Anybody who wants to help us in marketing, getting this out either in social media or the press or just word of mouth or whatever. We can use support on all different levels. So if you don't have the money to give, doesn't mean that you can't do anything to help save your school. There are things you can do.
So let me ask you a question, because November 22nd is right around the corner. And if for some reason you don't receive the feedback or the response that you want at the magnitude that Coach Pup deserves, would you postpone it to a later time? Because I realize I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be in Aruba. And so if I do anything, I may have to just donate for somebody else. But I know when I market with a 60 to 90 day window, because Pup has a lot of people that would want to come from the Bahamas and many places, then that might not be enough time for them to come. So if you don't get the feedback you want and enough people want to participate, would you postpone it? Or is that not?
No, no, that's not something that we're even thinking about right now, because there's too many wheels in play, and we're hoping to have some people at various high levels at this particular event. So, and as you know, when you plan these things, there are a lot of pieces and parts that they come together, and if you have to postpone and start all over again, it takes even more time and more resources. We have a contract. We're moving. We're doing outreach,
and there's some unknown variables that we can share. Is that Pup is also being honored with the Interstate Exchange.
I saw that they naming 40 after him. I saw that.
And that interchange, and they were also working with the state government, and that they are going to be part of this also. And so we've got this date, and it came up quickly on us, and we made the adjustments. So
okay, Falcons. So that means we need to make adjustments, y'all. For those who can, if you are in town, if you can, George Williams, we know him as Coach George Williams. He deserves that. If you can move some things around, we need you to be here. We need you to get those tickets or sponsor someone if you can't come. Show up, show out, share the flyer if you can't do anything else. That, sometimes sharing is caring. That's love. So share the flyer to other Falcons. If we each share in our circle, because you may have a fraternity, a sorority, your roommates, your buddies, share it with your classmates that you graduated with, your teammates, share it with all of them. And then that's doing your part as well. Would you agree, Dr. Larkins?
Oh, yeah. And Crystal, you made the point. And I was just in Atlanta last week, and Morehouse and a couple other schools were partying back, celebrating their homecoming. And, this is the first year saying, oh, we haven't had a homecoming. It hit some of us who've been doing this for many years hard. So come on out, for the 22nd, and we'll celebrate Pup's legacy, and we'll have a good time getting together. This will be our homecoming for St. Aug.
And listen, I want to shout out the Tri tri-state area of St. Augustine, I want to let you know, and I wish you could come up here, tri-state, click the link and come up and join us. Because listen, do you know, in the midst of all this that we have going on, the tri-state just formed a group. That's Falcon love, y'all. That's Falcon pride, y'all. They just formed this group within the last, I'm going to say 30 days. So they're not giving up. They said, you know what, we're going to do our part to try to do what we can do. So that's the New York, New Jersey, I think Connecticut. So I want to say kudos to you guys. Thank y'all for being here. That is really what it's all about, y'all. It's you know, they said when the going get tough, the tough get going. You know what I'm saying? So it might get kind of tough. It might get worse before it get better. You know, but what are you going to do? Are you going to throw the towel in? So what if the accreditation is gone? Are you going to leave? I mean, because, you know, I mean, so we have to have a plan B, and I'm sure you guys have that. You have a plan in motion to kind of guide the Falcons and tell them what to do if they get the bad news in December, how to keep holding on. Is there any suggestion, Dr. Larkins or Benjamin? And I want you to talk a little bit about the sixth man, if that's something that people need to know. If there are things out there that we can do collectively and not competing with one another, but collectively, then maybe we can make some progress. So please share that.
Let me say something real quick, because I'm gonna have to jump off in a few minutes here. But there are things that we can do to keep the doors open. There are a number of government-sponsored programs. There are other programs that are out there by different foundations that you can have operating on your campus, certification programs, different programs that schools have run, which were outside of the academic accreditation portion. So there are things that we can put in place to keep the doors open while we work to get our accreditation back. And so,
right,
you know, we can find our niche. St. Aug can find its niche, like so many other HBCUs have done, in order to generate revenue and keep things going. I worked in a grants program for several years in my agency, and I had a program set up specifically for minority serving institutions. And some of these schools didn't have large programs in science and other things, but they were able to find programs like in emergency management and other areas where you can contract with the government and go out and bring in people. You don't necessarily have to have it as part of an accredited program. There are a number of things that we can do, and we're talking about doing, and we're going to be reaching out to people who work in these areas and expertise. I mean, even hospitality area. I mean, there's monies out there. People want to have hospitality programs. There are things that we can do, find a niche in order to keep the school doors open until we can reconstitute the board, reconstitute the bylaws, and revitalize and resuscitate our university. I mean, there's such a big need for a St. Aug in the future for a lot of our young people. So, you know, don't get fooled by the hype that a lot of these folks are putting out there about not needing, you know, college education or having a defined skill set. You know, we can set up programs to give our young people the requisite skill sets that they can be successful while we work on maintaining or reinstituting an academic program.
Well, thank you for that reaffirmation. That's what we needed. I heard you say you may have to go. If you want to make some closing comments, you can, and then I will definitely come over to Ben, because I know with his experience working in the area of emergency management, it's kind of like you got to do emergency management here, right?
Yeah,
you know, it's like the same thing you've been doing to help in, you know, for the city, to make sure that things survive. You're taking those skills and using it here. So Dr. Larkins, if you have to leave and you would like to make some closing comments, please feel free to do so.
Yeah, no, Crystal, I would appreciate your having us on tonight. I think we appreciate the opportunity to let you know what we're doing and what we're about and why we started this initiative to try to save our school. And, you know, the fact is, you know, we love St. Aug, and we're going to work to maintain the institution as much as we can. And we really need alumni support to turn things around at the school. Because right now, from what I can see, alums are the only way that the school is going to be saved.
So let me ask you this final question before you go. Why, in a nutshell, why is Save SAU Coalition suing the Board of Trustees, and what do you hope to accomplish in removing the board?
Okay, very quickly. I don't want the board to be making more financial decisions for the school. Or if you look at the record over the last couple of years, the financial decisions have been terrible. They said they didn't know what was going on with the payroll taxes. They didn't know that the school was running such large deficits. All these things says, you weren't paying attention. How can you claim that you can help the school when you let all of these things occur without having some corrective action program to fix it? My 40 years in the government, I would go into institutions that had problems, and we would sit down and work out what we call corrective action programs in order to fix things and get things back and rolling. And we could have done that at St. Aug several years ago, but for various reasons, it didn't happen. So we're trying to get people in there in the board who the alums can hold accountable, the faculty can hold accountable. They can work with the community, which is very important also, and also with the city, state, and nation. I mean, I think St. Aug is a viable, brings a lot to the nation and the country. So in various areas. So it's important that we maintain that institution. So
and Crystal, John is being kind.
So let's, that's basically, I think, like I said earlier, Crystal, if this had been a public institution, a state or NCC or A&T, some other place, these board members have been going a long time ago. I mean, you don't do the things that they've done and stay there. So that's why we're trying to move them out, consistent with the North Carolina statutes that been mentioned earlier. So, keep praying that we'll be successful and we can save the school, and we're going to need everybody's support.
Well, we thank you so much, Dr. Larkins, and if you have to leave, I definitely do appreciate you being here. This was an effort, and listen, we want to get more Falcon stories out there to let people know about some things. There's some Falcons in some great places doing some wonderful things. You see what's going across the screen about Benjamin and what he's done in his field. We have a lot of people in different industries that have expertise and skills that people need to know about, so let's spread more. So if this is your first time coming to my channel, please make sure, please make sure that you guys, before you leave here, I need you to do one thing for me. You have to make sure that you hit that subscribe button. Please make sure that you hit that subscribe button while you're here. We're going to be doing more. We did Pup Williams. We did a legend series, and we did Pup Williams' story. We did Gary Taylor's story. We're going to do something with that CIAA team, Ben, that you were on, to let people know about that. So we're going to do some stuff. All right. So we want to thank you for everything. Ben, I want to say one thing to you before you go. I was reading your bio, man, about how COVID-19 affected you and what you went through with COVID-19. And I just want to say, to God be the glory. You understand me for that? Because Ben survived COVID-19 in 2020. He was in a coma, placed on a ventilator, suffering from double pneumonia, 55% oxygen level, kidney failures.
Crystal, where did you get all
Look at you now. You understand what I'm saying? So I just want to give a shout out to the Lord and Savior for keeping you, and look how you are letting him use you now. You see what I'm saying? So to God be the glory for that. Don't take that lightly. I'm so happy, and I'm thankful for everything that you're doing with your skills, everything that you do there, working there, first emergency manager for the city of Richmond in Virginia, and under the leadership of the former governor, Douglas Wilder, the first Black governor in the United States. So we have some skills on board, y'all. We have some people working for us that know what they're doing. So let's help them. This is not a competition. This is all about saving our school. Let's show up. If you were at the walk, come out with the signs. If they don't want signs, we're going to be peaceful, but they're going to know we're there. They're going to know we are there. And let's do what we have to do. Ben, do you by chance have anything else that you'd like to add before we get out of here?
Yes, I just, following up on John, one of the pieces that we have, especially with this board, and their lack of We've got malfeasance. We've got all of those things in place. And what they haven't done is lack of fiduciary duties. And in addition to, and there's other things also, and everything is spelled out in the Sachs report, is spelled out in the lawsuit. And it doesn't take a lot of, once you read it and understand it, then you know exactly what we're doing. And I will say, you know, Crystal, I don't know where you got all of that stuff from, but I'm one that, you know, after dealing with that, I know tomorrow's not promised, and I wouldn't be doing anything if it wasn't for St. Aug. And so I'm in this wholeheartedly. I do have to give a shout out, as I've asked my teammates, and you mentioned about the bus rides and stuff. Well, Tyrone Askew is one of the bus drivers. He's got his bus service. And when I said, hey man, can you help us? There was no hesitation.
That's right.
Same thing with Gary, you know, Reggie Mack and those. And so I am indebted to them. And the love of St. Aug is what drives us all.
Yes, it is.
So it is one of those things that I would be remiss if I didn't say anything about that. And we have to stay together, and that this lawsuit is about together we can make a mighty fist, and we've got to strike a blow. We've been preparing a blow to get ready for this, and we can only do it together. So I appreciate, and you had asked me about the FalconSixthMan, and it's just a foundation to help men and women's athletics. It started out with the men and women's basketball team. As a mentoring program, we would provide juices and drinks for the players and things like that. That's why we started out. And then I would say we ran into an issue one time where we gave Gatorade, and the sponsor of the CIAA is Powerade. So we had to tell them, you know, drink that in the locker room and in going through that. But we do anything we can in order to sponsor that. We will make sure. And this past year, we even sponsored the cheerleaders at the CIAA tournament. We've done everything from buying tennis shoes, but any of the former athletes, and with the track program, we do a mentorship program of, you know, because you're not going to be running, jumping hurdles or shooting baskets. You're going to eventually have to get in the workforce. And we try to be a shining star in that method. And as Pup Williams used to tell me, know your role and star in your role. And that gets a lot of things done. And so those are just things that I have just carried with me all of my life.
You need to go back. Hey, the Pup is serious. You got to go back and see that interview I did with him. Listen, guys, we're going to get out of here. I appreciate you. Y'all been watching Story Time with Shoutcrystal. Check out some of the interviews. Like I said, I've done Gary Taylor. I'm still going to do that CIAA basketball team that won. I'm still going to get y'all. I have the ladies team too, because they reached out to me. We're going to get that going again. Make sure you go to this website, Save SAU Coalition.org. Find out about the things they're doing. Find out about the way they're going to implement systemic changes at St. Aug, the fundraising efforts, and all the things that they're doing. Make sure you are plugged into Falcons Unite on Facebook to find out some other things. Remember those dates, November 9th at St. Augustine's on the quad from, I think it's 12 to 8 p.m. for the cookout, and they're taking donations. November 14th, Fayetteville Street Mall for the courthouse. November 22nd for the honoring of Coach George Williams. All these things are on the website. I appreciate you guys. Falcon Pride, y'all. Let's keep our head up. Let's get together and save SAU. Save SAU. All right. And let's keep our head up.
I love it.
Keep doing it. All right. Blessings and hope. My name is Crystal Bodie Smith. My mission is to stir up the gift, instill hope, and save lives. And on that note, I want to say Falcon Pride. Y'all have a blessed night. And I'll see y'all on November 9th.
All righty. Thank you, Crystal. And go vote. Okay.
Bye-bye, y'all. Subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. Thank you. Thank y'all for joining. I appreciate y'all, all of y'all. Blessings and hope to everybody.